Now, I know what you're saying. Maxwell, this isn't you. You wouldn't just talk about a single match. No, I know. But this one I have to talk about. Now, before I say anything, real quick, a shout out to one of our patrons on the channel, Carlos Anaya. You guys should check out his DeviantArt where he draws club badges, and let me tell you, man, they are clean. So show the dude some love and maybe even request him to draw your favorite club badge. Anyways, I know it's Thursday or even Friday. I don't even know when this is going to be uploaded, but it's going to be either of those days. Either way, I'm late to the party. But to be fair, it's not like anything's changed. After an emphatic victory in the North London Derby away from home, the first North London Derby double for Arsenal since 2014, we were 8 points clear of Manchester City, having officially played half of the season now. Our next match would be against Manchester United at home, the only team we had lost to throughout the entire season so far. And as mentioned before in a video that constantly gets clowned on to this day, United started the season terribly. But then manager Erik ten Hag readjusted and instilled the values demanded from his players. He also stopped playing Harry Maguire. That probably helped a lot too. From there, we were starting to see that new era that we had been promised throughout last summer. Man United between mid-November to mid-January won 9 straight matches. Their most notable victory during that stretch was a 2-1 comeback win against bitter rivals Manchester City. In that period, United were 3rd for points earned and 3rd for least amount of goals conceded, which now saw them placed 4th in the table, just 9 points below the league leaders. And with that momentum they had, you just could not count them out of the title race. Bruno Fernandes has definitely bounced back from a pretty underwhelming 21-22 season, and Marcus Rashford is back to his best. Hard charging at defenders with no mercy, like a train taking out an idiot on the tracks. 9 goals, 3 assists so far. That's way better than the 2 goals and 4 assists he had last season, albeit the injuries in that. Which is a blessing for United supporters because last summer there were a lot of questions of whether or not Rashford needed a change. United's new transfer, defensive midfielder Casemiro, has not disappointed whatsoever. Just like Madrid, he's basically added an extra iron shield of protection for the defensive line. Finally, I want to touch up real quick on youngster Alejandro Garnacho. The kid is just 18 years old and already has 2 assists in the Premier League, one of them coming against Manchester City, which kickstarted Manchester United's comeback against them. But before Arsenal and Manchester United could battle it out again, Manchester United still had to play Crystal Palace during the midweek. Bruno Fernandes kept the United run going with a goal before halftime. However, in stoppage time, the coldest to ever do it, Olise effortlessly scores one of the best free kicks of the season. So right before one of the biggest matches of the season for United, they dropped points against one of the most out-of-form teams in the league. However, there was even far worse news to come, because Casemiro would be suspended for the match against Arsenal due to yellow card accumulation. Wenger has well and truly done it again. The days before the weekend weren't just busy for United though. Arsenal were doing their own business, in the transfer window in fact. Initially we were looking into young winger Mykhailo Mudryk pretty much on everyone's radar, but every single bid was rejected. That's when Terry Smith 2.0 and Chelsea came in and splashed 100 million euros. Listen, I'm not saying that these guys have any right to say what they do, but I can't lie, I do agree with some of their points. To be fair, that was a slight bummer, but in all honesty, I didn't really expect us to get Mudryk. Never once have I seen Arsenal be successful in getting a player after multiple rejected bids in this short amount of time. Besides, I love Mudryk, but I don't think I love him enough to pay 100 million. So Arsenal looked to alternatives like me currently with PC building. And that's when the links with Leandro Trossard started to brew up. Before falling out with coach De Zerbi, he had 7 goals and 16 appearances for Brighton. Trossard is like a hub of creativity and he's very fluid in his way of play like Gabriel Jesus. He's also hardworking and can collect the ball from deep and progress forward efficiently with his excellent ball carrying ability. Just in general though, Arsenal and Brighton play pretty similar styles of football, so it really wouldn't take long for Trossard to adapt. We ended up successfully signing him for 24 million euros. This was also a proven player in the Prem, which is a perfect short-term solution to our winger depth. We also got ourselves another defender, because the only backup center back we have currently is Rob Holding. That defender though was Jakub Kiwior from Spezia, a young and strong defender who is linked with the likes of Roma. From what we've seen in the past with Serie A defenders going to the Prem, it usually seems to work out. Alright, enough exposition. It's time to get to the main event. Arsenal versus Manchester United. 2 juggernauts of the 2000s that fell down to their own personal rock bottoms throughout the last 2 decades. And after years of being in constant ruts every single season, both realized they had to change their old-fashioned ways. Now, alas, we finally see two sleeping giants awaken from a hibernation that has brought nothing but dread and suffering to both fan bases in the past. A nostalgia of old times now re-emerges that not only replenishes those who lived it, but those who watched on the internet to live out the better days in their own way. Because for the first time in what feels like eons, the Arsenal vs Manchester United rivalry means more than just earning some petty bragging rights. This is Celtics vs Lakers, Steelers vs Cowboys, Scorpion vs Sub-Zero, the mailman vs the dog. A win for Arsenal all but puts a massive pothole in the middle of United's hopes. But a win for United shrinks the point differential between the two to just 5 points with plenty of time remaining. So, without further ado, let's get into it, shall we? 16 minutes played, Marcus Rashford in 3 Michelin star form cooks his marker and adds a spectacular finishing garnish. 1-0 Manchester United, and the Emirates is silent. But Arsenal weren't going to let that slide, however, especially after this salute. 23 minutes played, the Xhaka redemption tour continues as his delivery finds Eddie Nketiah. I mean, it couldn't possibly be vintage Man United vs Arsenal without a Thierry. Minutes later though, here's a chance for Scott McTominay, but Aaron Ramsdale shows off those dead cat-like reflexes. Then right before the half, Saka tries to find an opening, but his shot is blocked. And now, breathe. It's halftime. Take some time to just, relax, because we still got 45 minutes to go. There was a lot that Arsenal were doing right, but also a good amount of things that they were struggling with. The team looked a bit nervous, and Ten Hag's press did enough to force a lot of errors out of our midfielders. And also, especially Ben White. The dude was just all over the place, and it just didn't look like he could contain Marcus Rashford at all. In terms of the good though, I think now is a good time to talk about Martin Odegaard, because the last video I don't think did any justice to what this man has done for the club this year. Watching this guy play is like having an out-of-body experience. With every touch, it feels like my soul has been taken to the highest planes of spiritual conscience. There was one moment later on in the second half where he did some kind of like double touch pass, and my eyes simply just could not comprehend what they were seeing. Honest to God, I'll say it. Who needs the touch of a woman? I just have to watch Martin Odegaard play for Arsenal. Anyways, at the beginning of the second half, Mikel Arteta decides to sub off a struggling Ben White. And enter Takehiro Tomagotsu, baby. The Tomagotsu effect is ready to strike. 52 minutes played, Bukayo Saka squares up the football AI, creates a pocket of space, and oh my dear lord, Bukayo, that is disgusting! 2-1 Arsenal. One of the best Bukayo Saka goals I think I've ever seen. Actually, it definitely was the best one. And what do you know? The Takehiro Tomagotsu effect, baby.
By Ericsson, Ramsdale through the crowds. 2-2!
Shit. Now, as I've said in the last video, if this was years in the past, this game would have probably been done. It would have just ended 2-2. However, this is a new Arsenal. And remember, they've already lost to United before. They refuse to leave without a win here. The red shirts would swarm United's box, but the Red Devils were holding strong despite the psychological torture Arsenal were putting them through. But then, in the 83rd minute, the ball deflects like a pinball and falls right down to Thierry and off. Why now, De Gea? At this point, we were dominating United. I don't even think within the last 10 minutes there was a single United player on our side of the pitch. It was like a hydraulic press video with United being squished slowly more and more by the seconds. But nothing was finding the net for us. It was starting to feel a little bit hopeless, actually. For as much invention and creativity that this team has, it just didn't feel like anything was going to go our way. It felt like this game was just going to end 2-2. However, 89 minutes played, Zinchenko squares it to Odegaard, who with a deft little touch picks out Thierry Nketiah, and his heel sends the Emirates into absolute chaos. But wait 1 second, the goal might be offside. No, it ain't! No, it ain't! No, it ain't! 3-2, baby, 3-2! And so after 90 minutes of one of the best Premier League matches of the season, Arsenal snatch victory at the death and win 3-2. Bukayo Saka has now scored in 3 consecutive matches against United, putting him among the likes of Henry and Ljungberg. And Eddie Nketiah becomes just the second Arsenal player to score in the 90th minute against Manchester United. The first, well, of course, Thierry Henry. But Thierry, Eddie, Nketiah, he's had his critics. A ton of them, me included. Many, like myself, also doubted that we could even score goals without Gabriel Jesus. You know, where would that fluidity come from? But Eddie just said, F it and awaken the spiritual powers of the historical 14 shirt. Eddie has evolved throughout his time at Arsenal, and a lot of credit should be given to him for always stepping in the spotlight and not being afraid of the pressure. Sure, he's not the most reliable finisher, but he will continue to chip away at an opposition's defense until he does score. But enough talk about his finishing though. He'll nail that down one day. I believe it. With how much adversity he's gone through since his teen years here, I can see him only getting better. I thought about this the other day, and I think the best way to describe this man's aura is simply this. And no, I won't pause. In fact, we're gonna resume. Every touch, he's so goddamn smooth with it. His ability to shake off defenders with some of the slickest pivots is just... And let's not forget about that finish at the death. It had to just be a heel. It had to be the peak of style, because that's what Eddie Nketiah is. Eddie Nketiah, take a bow, son. You continue to shut out the critics, including me. Please, keep doing it. Also, quick shout out to Takahiro Tomogotsu. Did he make a mistake early on? Yes, but he also was really good at linking with Saka, and he pretty much locked down Rashford. I didn't see Rashford throughout the entire second half. And considering he hasn't been consistently playing, locking down a player at that kind of form is very impressive. But after that victory though, Arsenal are still top of the league, 5 points above City with a game in hand. Now, there's no Premier League matches coming up this weekend, but we do play Manchester City in the FA Cup. I really would have wished we didn't have to do that. It would have been nice to just play Manchester City twice. I feel like that would have given us a better chance. But you know, it is what it is. This is an Arsenal side that only worries about themselves, and that is what I love to see. But after that match though, we have Everton away. Then there's Brentford at home. That's going to be a massive challenge. Brentford are really good this season. And finally, the big one. Manchester City at home on February 15th. Funnily enough, that's actually a day after the Kaguya movie, which is kind of weird. I was not expecting a random week in February to be this eventful for me. But now we return to the question at hand. Will I say a single word? Absolutely not. But a massive shout out to all our patrons, including Janos Balash, El Favi, Miliwe009, Aldipu, Alex Rod, Ulta, Min Suarez, Aresan, Carlos Anaya, Daniel Ortiz, Francisco Hernandez, Aishado Ninja, Juan Leras, Miguel Munoz, Wiandim Mintang, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Saw, Subscribe to Tenditum, The Motor Drive, Tomicus, Trevor Batson, Vanilla Mexican 17, Victor, Chris Damasceno, David Dunn, Declan Malloy, Dominic Griffin, Emmett Shea, Lewis, Joe Aparicio, Jordan Clavet, MX Weeb, Niche, Patrick Barley, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to join the Patreon, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, follow me on Instagram if you like, follow me on TikTok, trying to get to 20,000 there, and of course you can follow me on my semi-active Twitch. But until then, I'll see you guys.